Previously on ETTO's WandaVision spoilercast.
Our Patreons are,
They're what?
they're, nah, look.
Just spit it out.
Nah, don't worry about it, man.
This is so
I
boring.
think I've got to go.
Something's missing.
The hell happened?
Sorry, I was just working on my, yeeting powers. I just wanted to give it a go. Is that okay? You're all good?
Bro, that hurt. What the hell? We're back in Melbourne?
You are!
Right. Okay. I didn't even need the piece of paper that I needed to cross the border.
You just come into my little domain more often. I'll push you back, push you forward. Only thing is I can't just, yeet you back in. Is that you'll have to catch a plane.
Right.
That's
yeah,
the
okay, cool.
Only
That costs
downside.
money, man.
But you also managed to travel forward a week because there's a whole new episode of WandaVision to talk about.
Was there?
Yeah. Have you watched
Crap,
it?
I haven't watched it. I've watched it.
Okay, you've watched it, you cheeky boy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I watched it on the way over.
Yeah, you're right. Well, there you go. Might as well just ask. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah?
Very different to the rest of the season so far.
Absolutely.
And, minimal spoilers, but so many questions answered.
Yeah. And
Very cool.
it's such a strange one because it answers questions, but at the same time, I just feel like even the answers they're giving me, I'm like, I don't know if I trust you.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm totally the same. It's very, very different. I think it spells, and look, it's a spoiler cast. It's episode 4. We'll get into spoilers in 1 second. I feel like it spells a very different, for the next 5 episodes of the show, everything is very much in a different place. I feel like Vision will never be the same again. I have a feeling the sitcom angle of the whole show may now be somewhat more of a horror, tension thing where it's now
I'm wondering where the Office Modern Family vibes are coming in.
Yeah, totally.
Can we just, after seeing the
we have fun?
outside, can we see a normal episode again?
Yeah. That's a good question. Do you reckon they'll be flipping like a bit of Westworld or Arrow and stuff, 2 different timelines happening? Do you think that's going to happen now?
Yeah, I don't know. Or are we going to see them watching?
Yeah. Maybe that's a transition. It just comes out.
Yeah, see it from a different perspective in various different ways now.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they go ahead because, it seems...
The status
it seems
quo is,
early on to be doing that.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like they could have done one more, one more episode in the new era.
Yep.
Although I guess they're only in the 70s and they've gone bit by bit so far. It's weird. It's an interesting.
It's a strange choice.
I don't know where to go from here.
Where it's going to happen. As someone who loves, we both did, loved just their takes on all these shows that we love watching. I feel like they can't do that as directly anymore after this episode. But I mean, might as well say why. Full spoilers ahead. Basically, this whole episode is, apart from the end of it, is set in the real world, and not just that. Starting with the start. We start with the blip.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Man, that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Seeing a different take on people coming back because all we saw was the Avengers coming back.
Yep.
And they were obviously from a different location they were brought in. They came back somewhere else. We didn't see them come back.
We didn't see the dust.
They just came.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just came through a portal to where they needed to be. But this was just a totally new take. And being in a hospital of all places, already a very stressful, very busy location.
Yeah.
Having hundreds of people just reappearing who weren't there before, but they've now replaced those hundreds of people with hundreds of other people that are now sick.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's wild because, I mean, the person...
So interesting.
The person we follow isn't ill. I wonder if, the people that were snapped, that were in there with, some viral illness, are they now in a room with someone else that they shouldn't be in?
Yeah, are they...
are they still ill? Surely, because they were taken at the moment that they left.
If they were, brought back...
Yeah.
It's all right, people got turned to dust. There's a part of this that doesn't make sense that I've just realized. People got turned to dust.
Yeah.
The dust would have then been thrown out?
Yeah, it is weird
by
that
the people.
Yeah.
Because suddenly the dust is just appearing out of nowhere and
What exactly is the dust?
forming again. Yeah.
It's a good
Because there
point.
were piles of dust. There were
Yeah.
physical piles of dust which were the people. Those haven't been sitting there for 5 years.
No.
Or 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was 5 years, but the person that we're talking about's mum died
Yeah.
3 years
in.
prior.
That's a very good point.
So yeah, they're just reforming, but also like seemingly people would reform. People that were sick would reform in the beds they were in, but now other people are in the beds. So are they reforming
inside?
in and around other people?
Yeah. Is this some kind of
Killing people?
Maybe that's the MCU's take on mutants. They're literal mutants. They're like hybrids of two people's bodies.
That's weird.
That's a very
Interesting.
good. Yeah, I hadn't even considered that part because, like, in
Yeah,
this,
I just thought of it as we were talking about. I'm like,
because in
wait
this
a
there's a
second.
bit where she runs into someone that wasn't in front of her seconds before.
That was an intense collapse. That
Yeah.
guy like nearly got knocked out.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
So that's a question posed that. I mean, there was an interview, I think, with the showrunner or the head of what's going on with Disney Plus Marvel stuff that said if you enjoyed that, be prepared for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which
Oh,
is
yes.
exciting.
Good. Sick.
Considering they were both in the same spot when they got reappeared. So that's exciting to know. Maybe there's a Chadwick Boseman scene that they filmed because he would also be there.
Yeah, he totally would.
That could be possible. But cool opening. Sad that we lost the other person, her mum. I can't remember what her mum's first name was, but Proton.
It wasn't Monica. Monica's the one we're looking for, right?
Yeah, Maria? No. Maybe it's Maria Rambo. I feel like it might be.
Then Maria Hill?
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to say Maria. You can give it a Google.
I'll check it out.
But yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting. I think that's it also, obviously bleeds straight into talking about Sword, which is a shock that Sword has been there since the 90s. That Sword
It's
is...
Maria Rambo. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, cool. That Sword has basically been a private division since the first Captain Marvel film. So while S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
continued to grow, underground Sword was also being built. And I assume then that it kind of stepped in after Winter Soldier and that it's been steadily becoming the main thing in the MCU since that point, which I thought was a cool thing, but also quite surprising that we hadn't heard about it until like last year.
Yes, yeah. There was a couple of things here because she goes to Sword. And the acting director's office looks a lot like Fury's office if it isn't actually Fury's office.
Yeah.
Because maybe this is like the original S.H.I.E.L.D. office from the 90s from Captain Marvel. Like it looks like his office from Captain Marvel.
Yep.
So I wonder whether it is his office, but
Just
whatever happened.
Yeah.
Or whether it maybe like still was his, but he got blipped. So this is the acting director.
Also, like
Sword?
5 years in, you'd think they'd just have a director by now.
Yes, this is true. But also another thing, when the name of Sword came up, because it was like Sword, Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure the W stood for World.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and it's Sentient World Observation and Response Department. So they changed it from Weapon to World and Division to Department, but Division and Department
That's pretty
don't
interchangeable.
matter too much.
Yeah.
But Weapon to World was an interesting change, and I don't really understand why.
Well,
they
there's
did
the
that.
line in here as they're walking that they were talking, which baffles me because the first thing we saw of Sword was in space, where he says they've moved on from extraterrestrial and now focusing on terrestrial. Like they've basically become S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's, I guess, why the world got dropped, because now they're just focused back on the single planet. Maybe, I don't know.
I kind of would have thought World would still work though.
Yeah, totally. It's one.
world.
It's a single world, or it's multiple worlds.
know.
Yeah, I mean, look, S.H.I.E.L.D. was always the least interesting thing in the MCU when it was around. So I feel like either.
That's why they killed it so early.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early on. It'll get explained more in Secret Invasion, I guess.
Yeah.
Because right now I don't know what Sword is. Like, I barely knew what Shield was, but this is even more like it's been here for 20 years, and we've not
I feel
known
like
about
we're
it.
just meant to assume that it's Shield.
Yeah,
But Shield got overrun, so
it's
Sword
just
is
a new
now
word.
what Shield was. Like it's a bit
just
random.
And it's funny, I was looking into like when Sword kind of came about, and Joss Whedon just wrote the word Sword into a comic once, and then they had to just like it didn't exist until he was like, yeah, well, it existed, but he was the one that was like, it's always existed, but it really has only just been birthed because of this thing that I've just written, but it has also always been in around. So
bloody hell.
In a roundabout way, it's the way Sword always would have been introduced, because it's always been this weird thing. But then we go check out Jimmy, Agent Woo, who, God, I'm so glad he's in this show.
He's so good. He's not like as funny as he was in Ant-Man, but he has some lines. He has his moments. He just
he overshares. Solid. He wants to tell everyone everything, and it's like, let's focus on the job, buddy.
Yeah, like when someone offers him a chip. It's like they're talking about babies.
Yeah,
or he's watching someone have a baby, and then someone offers him a chip, and she's like, "Do you want one?" He's like,
I've always thought about
I have thought about it. A little Jimmy Woo running around. It's so good. He's what a legend.
And most importantly, he's learned how to do up close magic, because he flicks that card into existence like he does it. Did you not notice that?
I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I will be rewatching it soon.
Yeah, good. Because as he's walking towards Monica, he's like, Agent Jimmy Woo, and just flicks the card out of his wrist.
That is so good.
It's a good little bit.
That's so good. Yeah, right. I'm going to rewatch it.
And I think this was quite interesting, because it introduced the idea that, like, even outside of Westview, people are affected by Wanda. So there's those two cops that are like, I've never heard of Westview before, and they weren't in the simulation. They weren't in the thing going on, but even they were like, I've never seen it before. And I love the added bit of like, when he's like, so where are you from? They're like, Eastview. And it's like, and now that's, you understand how insane that sounds, that you're in a town that's east and there is a Westview.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder though whether like either she's affected by it or that town literally doesn't exist and they're looking at a projection.
Yep.
Because they can't physically get to it. So are they just seeing what looks like a town, but they can't get into it, or it's a little bit, there's like that weird force field wall that they can go through, but they kind of get sucked into it a little bit.
That's a good point. We still haven't been to a physical location.
Yeah. So I do wonder whether it is just this huge projection that they're looking, and those cops are like, this town didn't exist last week. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I just got a weird like, because they bring up the thing of the emotion, that if you have an emotion connection to it, that's where it gets changed, and and so they just drove off, whereas Monica and that were like, this is really here, whereas they were completely like almost grayed out Westworld to it.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I do understand that.
There's a lot of that in this episode. Like the thing with the beekeeper, I'm like, I don't think you fully explain what's going on there. Like, he kind of comes up, they replay the no scene, and then they just move on. It's like, at least now we know who he is, but what actually happened to him? Like, he didn't reverse and just funnel up the well. He's just gone now.
Yeah. I do totally wonder, but that was a cool scene. I really liked that.
Yeah.
He was in a hazmat suit crawling through, and once he crossed over the threshold, he got turned into something that made sense for the era.
Totally. And so,
freaking beautiful.
So did his cable, which went into the real world, which I thought was interesting too. His cable got turned into a jump rope, which went all the way back up to the people. I don't
know if I really noticed that either. Yeah, I noticed it get disconnected and pulled away, but I don't think I noticed what it got turned into.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard, and that's another bit that I'm like, the crossover will be real interesting in terms of what can actually leave the world, because I know Monica did, but like, we haven't seen one of the normal occupants leave, which we'll get into. You've got notes. I don't want to be talking all over you. Have you got anything that
That's right. As we're talking, I'm just going through them.
Yeah, cool.
Like, we're halfway through my notes already.
Yeah, good.
I think we kind of mentioned it already, but Darcy got reintroduced, so she's back from the Thor movies, which is great. She's great. I did find it funny when she actually arrived. It said sword response base.
Yep.
Which means that the whole name for that is Sentient Weapon Observations Response Division Response Base.
Oh no.
So it's like ATM machine.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I had a little giggle at that. You were right. The hand was Darcy.
Got it.
In the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
You were also right nailing that Wu was on the radio.
Yeah.
Very, very good. So I was pretty stoked
taking those
watching
off.
that. But that was very cool how Darcy came in and just started like configuring some stuff, and a bit of a visual came up, and she's like, I'm gonna need a really old TV. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it was her all along.
Yeah.
Like in her little workstation that they give her, you can see the equipment around her already. So you're like, it makes sense.
person.
Like this is about to happen. This is her space.
And then they just play that entire shot out as well, which was good. Just to hammer it home if you didn't notice. I've really enjoyed Darcy, that's right. I think she's the best written she's ever been. She's still like got the element of grating, which is it's not character related. Kat Dennings has that. She is herself in all of her roles, so there is always a little bit of that. But I think I'm going to enjoy her more and more in this, and I think it also helps that the last time we saw her was Thor 2, which was in universe 10 years ago, and at that point she was an intern. Now she's got her full doctorate, she's actually matured and she
knows what she's doing.
Like
that was something that I really, really liked.
I feel like she's more like intelligent and more aware than Jane Foster ever was.
She's basically like taken over from Jane Foster's knowledge of everything.
Sure.
But she's still kind of the little quirky, like, gonna break the rules just that little bit. Like, on her way into the SHIELD response base, she's like, so what do you guys do? And they're like, we're not supposed to talk. She's like, all right, what do you do? I love that they all said what they did, and the one guy that didn't respond was like, I'm a geologist or whatever. And she's like, no one cares.
No one cares.
You didn't answer me the first time, I don't care anymore.
I don't want to talk to you. Yeah,
great.
I love it. It's so fun, and they've basically spelt out that these Disney Plus shows will bring in the side characters that didn't get attention throughout the multiple phases. Please.
Is freaking Harley?
Yeah.
Is he going to turn up
in like Ironheart?
In Ironheart?
Probably.
Because he should be like approximately the same age.
Totally. Yeah. Maybe
a little bit older, but like still.
For sure. If they want to play with a dynamic that's not in the comics, which Marvel does, MCU does so well.
Yeah.
That'd be
like
good
they've
fun.
already brought him back. Very subtly, but he's back.
He's in the universe.
He's still around.
He could be her guy in the chair, basically.
That would be so good. That would make so much sense.
That'd be pretty cool.
Oh my goodness, William. Jeez,
I like that. I hadn't even considered that he'd be coming back there. But I'm loving it. I like that Wu is here, and I like that that it's so funny because Darcy and him are kind of the comedic side characters, and then together they're not overbalanced. It's not too much comedy. They've found a great mix between the two of them, and it's one of the things I love about this episode is that Darcy is you and I'm Agent Wu, because Darcy is like, it's a sitcom. Like, just don't overthink this. Like, just watch the show. And Wu's like writing on the whiteboard. He's like, is Vision alive? What are the hexagons? Like, I love that they've just managed to create the internet through this episode a year and a half ago. They didn't know that we were going to react like this. They did. But I did get a kick out of when she's like, I'm invested, man. It's a sitcom.
Yeah, I'm just watching it because it's just the TV show, bro. Like, stop thinking about it so much. Just let it happen.
Yeah,
I
totally love that.
One thing I also liked was that all the actors are real people.
Yeah.
So there's a section of them, like a montage of them going, this character is actually this real world person, and these two characters are actually a real married couple.
Yeah.
In the real world, like, and this is who they are, and they're like piecing together where all these people come from, and information about them, which was really cool. And the first people that they discover is Todd and Sharon Davis, who are Mr. and Mrs. Hart.
Yep.
And I quickly jumped on my phone, searched for who Todd and Sharon Davis were, and all I got was a piano teacher in Hawthorne East, Victoria. So I might give her a call after this podcast.
Yeah.
Just to get some piano lessons.
That sounds good. and into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not a bad. It's a double whammy, that is.
It's pretty sweet. Hell yeah.
It's kind of there's three people that weren't fully revealed on that board, which is the woman that not Ross Geller from Friends is married to,
yes.
Agnes, and also her husband just isn't on the board in general. And I know we haven't seen a physical embodiment of that guy, but she references him so much, it could still just be that sitcom trope, but it could be that there is a player within all of this that we are yet to see. And it makes sense that they wouldn't have an image because he's not in the sitcom. We haven't seen him turn up yet.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it is important that Agnes hasn't got one because she's probably Agatha Harkness. She just probably is.
Agnes?
Yeah.
Agatha Harkness?
Agatha Harkness. The other thing that I've never mentioned is that Agnes obviously is a fun, like obviously breaking down Agatha Harkness, but Agnes Moorehead that played the mum in, like Samantha's mother in Bewitched. So every time they say Agnes, I'm like, that's fun. That's a cool little, tiny little reference. But yeah, I like that these people are possibly real. My question to you is, do you think they're from, like, because you said that you don't think this is a real town. But if this is a real town, do you think they're from this town? Or are these people that Wanderers got to this location? Are these like outside sources? Or are they people that just lived here and they're part of the sitcom?
I kind of wonder whether, like, I'm still wondering whether this is a simulation and it is a hologram that they're looking into that looks like a real town that they could go into. People drove there and maybe just became part of it.
Yep.
Because we haven't seen yet. Because Monica Rambeau went in.
Yep.
And suddenly she's part of it. It seemed like she wasn't just acting.
Yeah.
She just thought she was there. So were these people just driving into this town and then going, I guess I live here now. I guess I'm not even thinking about it, but just they are because they drove into it.
Yep.
They're like, I'm just here.
For sure.
And she's controlling them and just being like, all right, this person that just drove in is the boss of my husband's company. This person that just drove in, she's going to be my best friend.
Yep.
Like, that sort of thing. So I'm wondering what Monica Rambeau's actual response to getting kicked out, whether she's going to be like, what happened? Where have I been? Again.
Yeah. Well,
she's already had that.
Whether they have the entire, they have it at the back of their mind, like they're stuck. Like obviously, yeah, they're completely playing the charade, but whether they are just like internally screaming of "Get me out!" Like this is all a front, and they just can't physically remove themselves from the town.
But then also at the end of episode 3, they seem to know something, but they couldn't say it.
Yeah,
because it was like it's at the end of our last podcast, like because we're like.
Yeah,
but
what are
they know and they are trying to say but they can't, or are they acting and playing up this whole situation? It's a little bit weird. But just on the like that geological, like what Westview is, it's kind of funny that one of your last questions in the last podcast that we did about it was, is this a real place? And it kind of is and isn't.
Yeah.
In my head, like...
Yeah.
Like, kind of, like I've said, it seems to be a real location, but it also kind of might not be at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like, we still don't have the answer to that, even though this is an episode that should have answered all our questions.
Like, literally, the questions and answers are, where did the helicopter come from? Who were the voices? Where did Monica come from? Like, the bare minimum. It just connected the dots from those episodes. But the overarching questions, I don't think it does. And also, just quickly, we've got to leave the geographical bit up behind. But I just want to say that this episode, I think, has, like, swayed me into the realm of going, I'm just going to not think about this so much anymore. Like, this is...
You mean?
Yeah. I'm going to join you and Darcy, because I'm like, this episode is just, like, it's put the literal writing on the wall. And I'm like... I think you have done that to be like, here are all the questions. None of this actually matters. Like, stop asking the questions that are on the wall. These aren't important anymore. So for me, I'm literally, I'm tuning out a little bit, and like, and also this isn't the episode to have any theories from. There's nothing that you can really have any crazy wild theories going forward, apart from an important factor, which is vision. We've got, like, a little bit more on him. Or have we? Obviously, in the episode, she sees the undead Vision. But, like, that could just be her remembering what he is like in the real world. A lot of people have taken that to be she's Weekend at Bernie, like he's just a corpse that she's waggling about, and that's all. But for me, I feel like that's too easy. Like, that just doesn't feel like the answer to that, for me at least.
Yeah, because that was, I guess, simple mind me, that was what I wrote. I'm like, is she controlling him like a puppet? And because she's like, everything's a hologram, like I was saying, is she just putting this thing over the top? And she got distracted, saw him, and was just like, whoa,
fix that.
Got to put that back.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she fixed it and stuff.
For sure.
But in that as well, in that whole little section right at the end of the episode, it's the first we saw of her proper power, like her known powers that we've seen before.
Yeah. Usually it's a bewitchified, like,
she kind of does
stuff.
this, like, this hovering, and she seems to be able to just, like, create matter now, like the rings and stuff, which we haven't seen her do before.
Yeah.
But in this, it was like her full kind of hand movement and the red little magic sparkles that she creates.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, like, in that, when she was doing it, because we'd popped out to the full CinemaScope ratio, it was also like, this now does look like a set. And as much as it looked like a set during the sitcom bits, this now looks like Wanda has created a fake environment. This doesn't, it's cold. Like, wherever she isn't, there's no light. It's dead because that's not where the camera's facing. So suddenly everything feels a lot more sterile and empty. And when Vision walked in, and I was like, something's up with your head. Like, you're not red out the back there. And it's just like, when they cut to it, I was it's like a legitimate freak. Like, you're like, oh.
It's scary. Like, he is terrifying to look at as an actual moving, talking thing.
Yeah, with like a hole in his head,
big gash in his head, and
jeez. I like that. I hope it's not as simple as that, but there is also, of course, back in Endgame, there was supposed to be an end credit scene where Vision's body was put somewhere, and then it's like a sneaky implied thing that Wanda has come to steal the body back.
Okay.
So if they still consider that canon, that's possibly what this is. That it is just a floating Vision body. But then it's a question of like I feel like Vision's not dead, and the show, like, I don't know. I don't want to get into that, but I just feel like we're not going to end this show with Vision still dead. So how do you come back from that if she just does have a shitty, broken boy in that simulation? Yeah. I'm intrigued. Yeah. I'm going to look at my notes. Have you got notes that you haven't said?
I only really have one more, which is just when she keeps stopping things, or when things kind of break down in the world, like we were talking about last week, basically when she gets distracted. The visual that Sword are watching, Darcy and Wu and stuff, seems to get cut.
Yep.
And they call it censored, so it's like they're censoring parts. So yeah, when Wanda is talking to Monica and is like, "Who are you?" Then suddenly it just cuts and they're like with their babies on the couch.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell just happened? Yeah. Like, there's that sort of cut. And also when Wu was trying to contact her, you can hear the stuff through the radio, but you don't see that lady like break the glass and cut her hand. It just cuts straight to, you know what, kind of thing. Like it cuts out the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Which, it's kind of like, why is she censoring? Like, how is this signal even leaving?
Totally.
Why is it leaving?
Yeah.
Why is she censoring anything?
That's why, like, everyone's like, oh, this episode just, like, answered all the problems and like, there's no mystery left. It's like, no. And literally, I'm still lost. Like,
yeah. There's so much still to be answered.
Nothing makes sense.
It's like a mid-season, like, here's a bit of, like, a tease of what's actually happening.
Totally. Yeah.
But, like, you still have no idea.
You got no clue. It's actually funny that, like, the night before I was talking to Sam and I was like, crazy wild theory, Sam. I'm thinking, because this is episode, like, 4, it's kind of the mid-season shake-up. I was like, what if this episode's all in the real world? And so when it happened, Sam just messaged, she's like, seriously? Really? Yeah. I'm like, sorry, Sam.
Again, half the notes were me just like, you got this thing.
I got it.
You got this thing. Right. Bloody hell.
I just nail it. But speaking of like the televisation of it all, I didn't write down the name of the energy, but I did look it up, and that is actually the same. Not the TV broadcast she detected, but the like beginning of the universe energy is actually the same in comic energy that gives the Fantastic Four their powers, which is an interesting thing to drop. The other side of it is, and because Fantastic Four is like way in the future, like 2024 at the earliest, the alternative, name dropping the beginning of the universe, is maybe Eternals related.
Okay, cool.
Possibly. But I just thought that I love that. Yeah, I like that they're watching a real TV show. I think I like that they went as hard into that as possible. In that, she gets a TV, turns it on, and can watch a show.
Yes.
And then and this isn't a point I really want to get into. There's like one final question that I want to pose, but I found it interesting that there were scenes that she was watching that we didn't see. Like there were possibly episodes that we didn't get to watch, because there's the bit where they're watching Monica and they're like, "Don't you think she seems weird to you?" And like that's not in any of the other episodes, where Agnes and Wanda are like shopping and Monica's just in the front of frame, because the first time we meet Monica is at the party. So it's like, how does this... is it literally they're living a whole life and Darcy watched like a 24-hour episode? Because that's not really what it felt like. It felt like she was watching individual episodes. So
yeah, totally. There were shots in the background that I'm like, I don't remember that. It looks different. There was one that like I thought I didn't remember, and then it zoomed in on it, and it was just before she was having the baby.
Yeah, right.
Or something. But there was a shot there, and I'm like, I totally don't remember. Like, it looked very different. And then it jumped in. I'm like, oh, it's that. But I kind of want to go back and be like,
is this? Have I seen this?
It just looked and felt weird. But yeah, there were some other shots that I also didn't quite recognize. But, you know, I put that down to just me not remembering anything.
I will also say, actually, just speaking on all this TV stuff, I think that's one of the other reasons I'm like, I've got to sit back and just enjoy this now, in that a lot of the things where I'm like, the dialogue's going to twist. And look, it still could. It does now feel like, no, it's pretty safe. Like, it was just written to be what it was. There wasn't an underlying thing. Like, unless it's, you know, the big overseer actually wanted them to say those things for a specific reason, it definitely seems now like, no, Wanda was trying to live a normal life and they were just playing their parts, apart from the big pivotal bits like the man choking on food and stuff. So...
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this episode's definitely taught me to just be like, just enjoy it, William.
Yeah, I'm still wondering about the devil's in the detail or whatever line that was, because that seems so direct. But yeah, maybe like the stalk thing and everything. Like,
it's a
maybe that was just playful.
But
you know,
Monica's line about getting employed, that's on point. I went to the big boss. He sat me down. He told me there was a big project to get onto. What did you do?
Yeah.
That was legit, so maybe not. Will is back on the crazy train. The last little question I want to put to you is, Monica says it's all Wanda. We don't believe that, right? We're not thinking, it's someone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because the devil's in the detail.
Mephisto's somewhere.
It's got to be something else. There's got to be something more, like...
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, like... she wants kids or whatever, and the only way they could do that was for Wanda to stay in this location. So then someone's built this location that she's got to stay in, and she's trying to control it at the same time. Like,
there's more to this. The other thing that I find
definitely more
quite interesting as well, this isn't written here, but SWORD is basically S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, they're monitoring stuff. How did they lose Wanda after the events of Endgame? Why are they surprised that Wanda is there and that Vision is there? Like, that actually, just to me, just now realizing, I'm like, they're like, it's like losing Iron Man. It's like, you should know where Iron Man is. Like, again, we may find out. Like we have to find out why she went crazy. But it's an odd show. I'm still holding friggin' true to, like, now that we didn't get the full house episode, that the Uncle Pietro is still coming. I'm still holding true to that freaking theory.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna happen. That's basically the episode. Next week is going to be very interesting because they're basically, for me at least, I feel like Vision now will be actually playing a part. Like, he will be trying to be normal, but he's broken out now. I think Vision has broken free of the spell.
Yeah.
To me, at least, I feel like there's going to be just a lot more tension, a lot more weirdy.
Yeah,
to
I think he's going to be questioning stuff way more.
Yeah.
Because he was questioning stuff in episode 1.
Yeah.
Like, what is my job?
Yeah, for sure.
But
So
now it's like
something's up.
there's something way more twisted that's happening, and I think he's possibly wrapped his head around it, or
Yeah.
Wanda will just start falling apart from now.
Yeah, it's a good question of what happens to Wanda. And there are kids as well. We've got to deal with those kids. Something has to be done about your kids, Wanda.
Yeah, I wonder how fast they're going to grow up too.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
like she got pregnant and had him real quick.
She did. I
Are
feel
they
like
going to be like toddlers in this next episode, or
they've got
like
to be.
5?
They've got to be at
teenagers?
least like Mary Kate and Ashley age, like
Yes.
in the Full House episode.
Yeah. If they do Full House, yeah.
Yeah. But going forward, like if they do in a Modern Family episode, surely they'll be as old as Wiccan and stuff, so that you have that
Yep.
dynamic like the Modern Family episodes. I guess. I reckon we'll get to at least like teens, if not a little bit older, by the end of the show. But that's episode 4. Crazy times.
It's a cool one. Man, sorry I'm yawning so much right
That's
now. I've been awake since 5:30 a.m. and it's now 7 p.m.
That is true.
So it's been a long day.
Been a long day. Sorry, Joshua. Go to bed now.
That's okay. Yeah, probably.
If you want to help Joshua in his sleep, I'm squinting my eyes. If you're not listening, if you're not watching this, you can jump to patreon.com/each of their own and give him 2 winks, which is $2.
Nailed it. Perfect.
The more winks
So
you give him,
good.
the more sleep he'll get.
That's it. And we're still pumping out stuff. Still doing stuff. We're back on Twitch again.
We are.
Had a little stream. What did we play again?
Play the Guardians of the Galaxy
Guardians.
Telltale game.
That's right. Of course we did. Marvel things.
Yeah, that's all we've got. If you want to check that out, you can go to twitch.tv/itonline. And
Yes.
if you just don't want to see our faces, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to pretty much anywhere to listen to us now. We're on
Yes.
Apple, we're on Google, we're on Spotify as usual, and also Pocket Cast. So if that's any of the things that you prefer to listen to podcasts, you can go over and listen to us there. It's the same thing you just watched, but you don't have to deal with us in physical
Yes.
form, which you might prefer. But thanks, Josh. That was good fun.
Thank you, Will.
Speaking of visual
am I
form,
looking the right way? I'm looking the right way. I did
there it
it.
is. Good
Yes.
job.
Excellent.
I've got no funny gag here. Like, if I could turn myself into like an undead Will, I'd do that. But I've got nothing for this week. So next week there'll be a funny gag. Next week, I'm sure.
Cool.
But until then,
I got nothing.
Josh has nothing. I've been Will.
I've been Josh.
WandaVision. WandaVision.
WandaVision.
There it is.
Family. WandaVision.